Szanowni Państwo, przed nami...
Ladies and gentlemen, we are opening the next part of our forum, attractiveness of vocational schools in today's labor market situation. Vocational schools, stereotypes and reality, and the debate will be moderated by Krzysztof Świerk from Polish Automotive Chamber, an expert on training and professional education, EVET. Thank you very much, Piotr. Hello and welcome to this interesting debate after this pretty intense and truly inspirational lecture by Madam Professor. I'm happy to have this debate amongst experts and will be joined by Director of Construction Schools in Bydgoszcz, experts for vocational training, EVET, Magdalena Popielewska. Yes, she deserves a round of applause. And will be joined by another speaker, effectiveness of employees department of KGHM Polish Metal Company, Arleta Chorąży. Will be joined by Director of Applied Sciences Academy in Wrocław, experts for education and training, EVET, Professor Robert Musiałkiewicz. Hello and welcome. Another expert, analytical and research team for this Educational Development Foundation, Mr. Michał Pachocki. And the experts milieu includes the chief specialist in the strategies and qualifications department of the Ministry of Science, Beata Dymińska-Skowron. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been brought together to discuss the attractiveness of vocational schools in today's reality. It pertains to pandemics, in economic conflict in Ukraine, and there's been a huge turmoil. This turmoil impacts the vocational schools and system reaction. We are going to speak about stereotypes and reality. And the question goes to Magdalena Popielewska. What is the enrollment to vocational schools? And the Ministry of Education and Science has introduced changes in vocational training. So do we see greater interest of people who want to enroll vocational training system? Are we suffering? Can we see the increase, or are we suffering from a decline? Hello and welcome, everybody. This is quite a longish question, so let me start about vocational schools enrollment. I looked into the statistics presented annually. Let me present. Should there be any questions or conclusions, we may work it out. Vocational schools, apart from continuation learning, statistical data for the previous years, 57%. First level and technical schools. Looking 10 years back, 2010, 2011, the number of pupils, only 6% fewer. So there is a slight increase when we juxtapose 10-year period. A vast majority of these people go to technical schools. Only 31% of the children who attend vocational schools go to the first level of vocational schools in the new type. And profession selection, this is what I delved into. The ministry gives us greater possibilities with this regard. There is 200 plus of them. I don't remember. 226 in 32 business sectors. It's increasing, as you can hear. 32 business sectors or industries. Imagine that 10 basic sectors, depending on the type of schools, offer training. So just a fraction of that. Speaking about vocational schools, automotive mechanic, the data last year, 18%. Cook, hairdresser, 12, seller, fitter, confectioner, woodcutter, technical schools. The greatest number of pupils according to statistical data. ICT technicians, 70%. Food and catering, economy, construction sector technicians, 10 professions that are most often selectors. Other, like 22 or 23%. So the question is, and this is quite a serious question, what happens with other professions that are not selectors? Aren't these offered by school? Yes, they are offered by school, but the question is, we've been brought together to discuss it, but I'll return to it. I want to show you Bydgoszcz, the city that I come from. Enrollment depending on the type of the school. Last year, for example, it was 2021-2022 school year. General education school, 44% of young people. Technical schools, 46. Our voivodeship and our city is the front runner. There is a vast majority of pupils going to vocational schools like basic vocational schools, technical schools, and postgraduate schools. 10% only in the first and second level vocational schools. What happened this year? As you remember, there is 50% more pupils. These are the people who started earlier, when 6 years old, and this is the wave that reached our schools now. In my school assembly, there was 250 children that enrolled. 110 are 13-year-olds. These 13-year-olds are still 13 until the end of the year. I checked it. There is 50 pupils of this kind. So the question is, how are they supposed to decide about the job being 13 or even 14? As Madam Professor said, it's very difficult. Sometimes parents are unable to say what kind of career path they should develop. So it is important and pivotal. Well, thank you very much, Madam Professor, for this truly inspirational lecture. It is very important to have vocational counseling at the primary school level, or differently, professional counseling. The professional pertaining to the teacher is also very important. We, the schoolmasters, teachers, and universities that educate counselors, we should think about professionalizing this kind of job, and these people should be employed. True professionals should be employed. I'm going to tell you later about it. I flew off at a tangent. And second level vocational schools should be discussed. 30th of April 2022. 91 were created. In Lubuskie Voivodeship, just one second level vocational school, 2 in Western Pomerania, and 3 in Podlasie region. Probably we'll be discussing this in a moment. But I've got lots of questions and reservations with regards to second level vocational schools. I am a headmaster of a big school. I'm unable to create a second level vocational school for all professions, which is determined by the number of pupils in a class. This is also determined by the possibility of creating such a class because I am short of teaching staff and many other factors. Other part of the question that you asked here, the changes resulting in different enrollments. There have been and still are gigantic changes. You know that well. It triggers the changes at school. We, insiders, can see that. The core curriculum has changed. There is a different examination, just one examination. Yeah, the system is more efficient, but efficiency. Can they continue education after the first level, and will they go to the second level of vocational school? I don't know that, and I should know that when accepting them for the first class. Young people starting vocational schools decide not to choose them because of that. They have introduced one examination. We know that nobody is going to analyze what happened in the past. They live here and now. Young people don't look at that. There is a diversified subsidy for niche lines of studies. Few people know that. Innovativeness introduction, that's a wonderful thing that may result in very good enrollment. Then, market-related qualifications. This is excellent. These are extra capabilities. This is what a pupil should be told. It's happening. If we do that, the enrollment might be better. What determines, what are the problems related to limited enrollment to schools? A shortage, there are not enough hands to work in the market, but it does not help. We need professionals and people who do manual work or labor jobs, but people don't want to be ones. In people's mentality, you have this notion, people still believe that these are inferior schools, no matter what kind of name you attach to it. There is no mentality in the labor market. You still use the old word in Polish, zawodówka. Imagine, my kid, how important it is to show what it is. My daughter was going to secondary school. She had classes with counselor, and the counselor said to one of the colleagues in the class, she's quite watchful because I made her watchful. Imagine, she told my colleague, if you don't learn, you will go to the construction vocational school. So these are the stereotypes that we have, and you know that. It looks like that. Professional counseling is what I'm reverberating. When you have just a few hours a week, you don't have professional counselors. Sometimes these are teachers who have postgraduate courses because they were short of teaching hours. Even an educator may not be as passionate as Madam Professor. These people are hard to find. We are not helped. These 13 or 14-year-olds, well, they do not join our schools. I pass on the microphone, unless some people want to say, can I make a comment? In this education system, we are there being an entrepreneur or partner to schools. And I'm thinking, school should be believed as a part of the system and ecosystem, like puzzles. This is my personal perspective. When I look at cooperation with the schools, we are patron too. We have this expectation of them being proactive, this broad scope perception of a school. If a school is supposed to create competences that are important from the point of view of the labor market, the didactic process is long. We need to look at school as the element of the social setting it is in. We are waiting for the school to contact us and tell us we want to do this and this and this and that. We want to activate. We want to start communication, and so on and so forth. And this is my perspective of foyer collaboration in this patronage program. We take up lots of activities to change the perception. Vocational school or technical school is believed to be parents' failure, so you are unable to raise your child, and they went to a vocational school or technical school because general education school, high school, they were not apt for. When I look at the demand and jobs that are difficult for us, first and foremost, we look for highly qualified technical staff who are ready to learn our technological process. We've been speaking about it for 4 years. We even have radio ads. We play them when supporting recruitment process in secondary schools. And this produces results. It's not a shame. You have this perspective. I can develop my career based on the entrepreneur that operates in the local market, but it requires collaboration with economic milieux. Are schools ready for that? Do they have time and space for that?
Pani dyrektor już przed momentem powiedziała, KGHM.
So in the context of what was just said, KGHM is a company that has joined in vocational training in the area, and we have great collaboration. Magdalena has identified certain problems, but quite often we see that there are people missing in the system, people who could solve those problems. Sometimes it's not literally one of our duties. Of course, the school implements its curriculum and so on, but as our headmistress said, sometimes you have to think outside the box. So how is KGHM helping? What examples of help can we mention to enhance employability? Today we see that agility is also a prized quality. One needs to be much more dynamic in shifting from one career to another than 20 years ago. And as our first speaker emphasized, employability needs to be enhanced. How do we do this? Well, I could talk for days about this, so do interrupt me if I get too long-winded. So we do a lot. Standards like scholarships or developing internships or apprenticeships, standards, building awareness about enterprises in the local community. Even though we are a big player on the market, we are all across Lower Silesia. We have 3 iron mills, as well as mines and various technical plants. Kids from Legnica weren't aware that there was a mine in Lublin, and they were very surprised to find out. When I talked about this at work, everybody was stunned. So on the one hand, we do communicate to the market, and we also help parents and children from grade 8 to make decisions in terms of choosing their further education, in terms of choosing vocational schools, that this is a good idea for career success, and there's room for a child who goes down this path to be successful in the future, to have stable employment, to have job security, to work for a recognized big employer. But on the other hand, we also try, maybe this is a bit pejorative, we also try to absorb those kids as fast as possible, because, as we said, the 3Ds, dull, dirty, dangerous, these jobs are increasingly less sexy for the young generation. Some kids just can't imagine hard labor, working in a mine under very difficult conditions or in a steelworks. So the challenge is not just to find engineers, mechanics, and so on, we need to convince them that a mine is a fun place to work. So that's why we put so much emphasis on training, on-the-job training, and we build this ethos of a practical job trainer and teacher, showing how influential such teachers are among kids in terms of showing the organization in a good light. We also invite them to volunteer campaigns, to various athletic events organized by our company, so they get to know us as people and see that there are fun people working at this company who are full of passion, who love their jobs, who love the organization. So here we are trying to activate emotions and showing these young people that this could be their home. Two more things which are extremely important to the young generation. First of all, thinking about the future, because the way we've set it up, we've created tools and educational pathways. So a young person who comes to us has the opportunity, having graduated from a vocational school, they have the opportunity to build up an education that would allow them to work in supervisory positions. So, for instance, they might complete a technical school and then go on to university. And in that manner, they might enter the organization. Also, when we speak of the transition from a trade school to employment, this year we are starting an apprenticeship program. We will be offering 6 month internships to the best students, which will allow them to get insights into whether we can connect. It's also an answer to the decision-making uncertainty that the first speaker spoke of. We see hesitation on the part of students who are often uncertain whether they will be able to handle the job. So we tell them, well, if you're not sure, try it. Work with us for 6 months. You'll be looked after by a mentor, an instructor who will be assigned to you, and that way you can determine whether you want to continue with us. So there are many ways. We definitely work in areas having to do with showing our attractiveness as an employer, but we also want to build emotional relationships with our potential employees, students from trade schools, because the strength of our company is rooted in very personal engagement. Our employees love KGHM. Sometimes it's a rather cool love when they're entitled, and sometimes it's just boundless love where they've truly found their place in the world. So thank you very much for mentioning this emotional sphere. It's very much needed in education, and I think that many areas of Poland are envious of Silesia, where KGHM is so present as such a strong partner, working with trade schools and universities. It's not like that everywhere. Even though there are success stories all across Poland. I recently visited Włocławek. I admire the rector of the Applied Sciences Academy in that city, how far they've come. Two questions to the rector. The first one related to what Mrs. Magdalena was talking about. When it comes to higher education, are we seeing a positive reaction with more high school graduates opting for a technical education? Plus, one more question. With regard to the situation at the Applied Sciences Academy, Academy of Applied Sciences, I know that you offer a broad array of degrees. Is it true, like Magdalena said, are these vocational school graduates, do they have opportunities to study, continue their education at your university? Yes, thank you. A few statistical data that overthrow certain myths. When our university system and the entire education system was undergoing profound a transition in the 1980s and 90s. In 1990, there were some 16% students, 16% of students were studying technical subjects at published universities. So 1 in 6 students was a technical major. And I think in 1990, we had some 56,000 university graduates. 20 years later came the peak with 500,000 graduates. So 9 times the number from 1990. And this started peaking around 2003. We are now experiencing a demographic decline. Back then, under the previous government, vocational schools were quite well developed. Only 10% of cohorts went to university in 1990, and the degree of scholarization increased hugely in the coming years. We caught up with the EU average. A lot of budgetary money went towards this purpose, and there was also people also became active, recognizing that higher education was a guarantee of a good career. But now the situation has turned around. There was a claim implicit in the question, is it worth studying technical subjects? Well, yes, of course. Let me just cite the financial indicators, which may not be the most important, but we have a way to track what our graduates go on to do and how much they earn. It's not always reliable information. However, in a group of 100 subject areas with the highest earnings, this group includes maybe 2 to 5 academic disciplines. The rest are all technical and medical disciplines. So if we look at the job barometer, deficit occupations in Poland, we need medical professions. This is the outcome of what we've been through and the Polish New Deal. So we have a shortage of medical professions, technical professionals as well. So it's definitely worth going into a technical career for the financial reasons. And what is happening in the higher education sector? So 15, 20 years down the road, around 2020 or 2022, the percentage of people in technical degrees is only 18%. And it was 25% back in 2016. 1 in every 4 students in Poland was a technical major. So, however, if we were to look at the most popular university subject areas back in 2015, the top 15 majors with the highest number of people applying for one place. That list of the top 15 included 5 to 6 technical degrees. In IT, ICT, there was also robotics, machine building, construction, management, and engineering. Recently, the Educational Ministry has published a ranking of desired majors. The top 15 only include IT. There's construction, which is also falling down to 8th or 9th place. Mechanics and machine building, robotics, and others even further down the list. So the trend is reversing. And it's worth noting, back when we believed that social campaigns aimed to convince young people to study technical subjects are having an effect. Perhaps they did have an effect up to a certain point. But what happened afterwards? my colleagues and I have been trying to draw conclusions. And we've come up with the idea that it's all about math. Math is simply too challenging for young people, and it's not a subject you can cheat on. You can lie to your mother, father, biology teacher, but you can't lie to a mathematician. You can't lie on a math test. So I think we need to put more effort towards supporting technical university subjects. One thing, what you've said is extremely alarming, looking at all the trends, market trends, but also technical development scenarios. I think we are going to have more IT, more automation, more technology in the future. Psychological professions will also remain popular, as will priesthood, but IT specialists may not be needed 15 years down the road. AI will write its own algorithms, but somebody will be needed to control, to keep AI in check. Oh, I've seen so many sci-fi films. But I heard a year ago in Amsterdam, AI designed and 3D printed a footbridge, which works. So what you're saying is quite concerning about math. Math is difficult, but also underappreciated. It is a problem for kids, but there's also a social problem in terms of perceiving girls as incapable of pursuing technical professions, as not being good at math, as not being gifted with a natural aptitude for natural sciences and for the technical sciences. And perhaps this is another area where we could work to encourage girls to give them mathematical competence. There's no difference up to the age of 6 in terms of math skills between boys and girls. Something happens after the age of 6. It may be social stereotypes where girls are told, you're no good at math, you should be a cook. So maybe this area has potential. Let me go back to the rector for a moment. Question regarding vocational school graduates. Are they moving on to university? Can they apply? Well, it's hard to say for the moment because we've just launched a reform of vocational schools. We have some embryonic growth in this area in terms of establishing vocational schools. But yes, definitely they can apply to universities, especially technical universities. Often they are the future's best bosses, those who have been down on the factory floor, those who have had their own construction company. They know what it looks like on the ground from the bottom up. So theoretically, there are technical opportunities, but how this will work out in practice, time will tell. There are concerns, I know. There is a problem with continuity between vocational level 1 and level 2 vocational schools, and we'll see how this evolves. Going back to what Magdalena said, moving beyond stereotypes. So entering the area beyond the implementation of what educational law says, for example, about core curriculums. It's Erasmus Plus is a typical milieu that is close to education but shows another path and another kind of approach. So I will have a question for Michał. 2 questions. The first issue is analyses and research. I know that you've done analyses of competences and skills. So what kind of skills are expected on the labor market today? What do employers expect from schools? Professor Romaniuk said a few words about this. Question 2, what impact on life choices does the Erasmus Plus program have when we are talking about choosing the right educational path in lifelong learning?
So, speaking about the project's impact, foreign projects' impacts, not only Erasmus, but also the projects that are realized outside national context, Collaboration with others, exchange of information between the countries, so we learn from different countries. We check individual and institutional impact. This time impact on school, vocational school. So does it give to school? We've tested it with the representatives of school and responsible bodies and the teachers. It gives school prestige. It enhances the image of the school in a local educational market. If a school has got a better image, better prestige, there is a greater chance that better students will be more than willing to do that. We help them to make choices, what kind of school they are going to choose. The general education high school everybody goes to, or a technical school or a vocational school because it offers something more. Like, for example, it offers foreign apprenticeship. So this is what we learn from all kinds of studies. These kind of projects at schools, first and foremost, helps to make choices with regards kinds of schools that we want to go to. And this seems to aid in this respect. I didn't have this choice. I'm a victim of lack of professional counseling, and I learned about vocational school 13 years ago when I started working with FRSC, when I started working with teachers' mobility projects and then pupils' mobility projects. Hardly did I know that it would give so much possibilities. I'm graduated from Humanities Department, lack of professional decisions, lack and support of any kind. When I graduated primary school and high school, hardly did I have any counseling. I might look young, but I'm not that old, that young. I have a dream job. I do social education research. But in order to do that, I had to graduate from 3 different departments, postgraduate studies, lots of professional trainings, and many things were not needed for the job that I'm doing. Somebody had helped me in selection earlier. I would have done much earlier. I wouldn't have wasted a period of time. Anything that we learn is an asset, but it's nice to learn something that is useful, something that we want to do. It's best to learn up front what we want to do. We don't have to be concrete. Pupils do not have to be concrete when they want to speak about what the job they want to do. But it's enough to say what they are good at. And this is the foreign apprenticeship that offers this kind of opportunity. In 2020, we had an international research. We started with Polish data, and we sold our methodology to 10 European countries, different ones: Latvia, Czechia, Slovakia, Macedonia, Luxembourg, United Kingdom, Ireland, and Belgium, Eastern Europe countries, Central Eastern Europe countries, and we tested the fate of vocational schools pupils who had any experiences associated with foreign mobility that are realized in the Erasmus program. What we learned was the fact that although it was a short episode in the life of a person, if the young person does not remember what they were learning at the school as far as their professional skills are concerned, but still, this is the life-changing moment when it comes to attitude. It's an eye-opener. It gives a more international context, showing vocational training in other countries. Gives the possibility how to work in a prestigious company, which confirms your decision. This is the way to go. This is what I want to do. So you ask how the percentage of vocational schools graduates going to universities. I cannot answer this question, but I can tell you what it is about the data. Mobility experience, 24% went to universities. So we wanted to know how much it is associated with the line of studies at school. 80+%, it was the same area. If it was ICT school, they went to ICT department. If it was catering technical school, they opted this. It was theater studies or tourism. if it was forestry technical school, they follow the same path. The early investment into a young person, so sending them out to foreign countries, may reconfirm that decision and secure them staying in the job, because we invest lots of resources to train the person in a particular profession, and the person disappears. What is also interesting, what we learned from our studies, is the comparison from gender education high schools and vocational schools. These are two kinds of personalities. In professional vocational trainings, it is that people who are more aware of the fact that they are going to the labor market. Generic education high school is a declaration. I don't know what I'm going to do, and I'm proud. I'm happy that I cannot say I'm not sure. We graduate from humanities and we don't know what to do. We learn in comparison, and how happy you are. Rhetorical question without any answer. My own experience tells me that it's difficult to return to the learning path in your adult life to have a dream job. And the third context, individual and institutional, systemic concept. It's difficult to say how much the mobilities impact the labor market, and we're starting the international research, and we might be meeting next year and we'll be able to share the first results when the school goes outside the standard. Vocational training entering the area of international projects might be of help in education training. And I was going to say about employers' competences. They correlate with what young people learn during mobility. They expect soft competences and cross-sectional competences. We did this kind of research on a representative sample of companies together with Crown Foundation. It was operated by Canton Millward Brown. At the end of COVID, there was the quality component, and we showed the collaboration with the vocational training units. And speaking about the competences, you can learn professional skills on the job during the internship, but the attitude is a different question. This is what should be dealing with, because we should be making them equipped with soft and cross-sectional competences. Thank you very much for this great amount of information related to the Foundation's experience and personal remarks to the system. It really happens that a speaker was a victim of the system. Michał, you're not alone. I fell victim to the system too, because mechanics and machine construction at Poznań University of Technology, and there are two lines of studies. I wanted to have this vehicle-related ones, and I landed in management and construction machine department with no cars in. So this professional counseling is very important. The Ministry of Science and Education for a number of years has intensely worked on systemic changes, wanted to implement them to make people more aware, as well as school directors, school masters and entrepreneurs with regards to possibilities. The latest changes have produced a lot. So the question to Beata, have you implemented them? What were the recent changes as far as the flexibility is concerned? How much they have been implemented? Do schoolmasters equipped with the knowledge? Do they use this knowledge? Do entrepreneurs use it? They say the system is not aligned, and you come up onto the stage during the conference and say you've got this and this and that, but you are not using it. There are lots of systemic solutions, and they promote vocational training, sectoral training. but dissemination of the knowledge amongst the employers and schoolmasters and responsible bodies is very important so that we can make the most of the system. And discussions like today's may show the existence of knowledge. KGHM is an excellent example because they use all the systemic solutions. With regards the initiation of legislation process, so introduction of the changes in classification of vocational professions, some of them, by the initiative of KGHM, were introduced into the classification that dates back to 2019, that is the binding one, mining ones associated with what is excavated apart from hard coal and brown coal, and technician in this respect. Yeah, right. This is the authorization for the organizations of employers and sectoral councils on competences and other bodies that associate employers to file in their postulates for competent ministers for particular professions in order to expand or change the catalogue of professions the schools do the teaching in. Because there might be changes from the point of view of introduction of new professions. So I was wrong with when quoting the number of the professions that we have. We have 229, and there is the sex amendment in the process, which will introduce 9 more. One will replace the other that proved too obsolete, and now it is removed from the list, and the new one is being introduced. It is associated with the fact, with what Madam Professor was speaking about. The market is very dynamic and unpredictable. So we cannot make these procedures too rigid a system. Stick to it. We need to collaborate with employers and employers' organizations who may initiate a lot of changes at the level of the school. What is very important is to have the knowledge transfer to directors, to the whole ecosystem of professional training. This is up to school masters, what kind of professions the school teaches in. And on top of that, with the responsible body, having established the collaboration with employers, establishment of the collaboration is a prerequisite. After being given the opinion of the Voivodeship Employment Council, there is a whole group of employers included in opening a specific line of education in a specific profession. Once it is already there, there are many other areas that employers might be included in direct collaboration with schools. For example, development of curricula. A curriculum is much more than the core curriculum. There are many notions that exceed the core, additional professional skills that are already in the attachment 33 to the bylaws, and market qualification preparation in ZSK. And there are financial incentives for schools to establish collaboration, to sign a contract with a certification body for one-off preparation to get qualifications. These are incentives from the system. Collaboration may pertain to management, organization, professional examination, teachers training, counseling, what was discussed by Madam Professor. Collaboration in the scope of professional training, practical training on the job, and the novelty that was introduced, pupils' internships, which may produce very interesting results, benefits for technical schools pupils, not for juveniles only. And speaking about other aspects that were introduced, they become operational. These are new mechanisms that may demonstrate alignment of the lines of studies to the dynamically changing labor market. This is the demand forecast targeted at vocational training sector. This is announced every year by the Ministry of Science and Education based on the national statistics data. Having been advised by the sectoral competence councils and the program board for competences. So this collaboration with employers is clearly articulated here when describing the forecast of jobs, and this gives you tools for schools to shape this offer of vocational training and financial incentives, because there are greater subsidies for pupils who learn in the professions that are taken from the national list, the future professions. This 1,250 zloty subsidies for the whole duration of training, and incentives for employers who enjoy greater subsidy from 8 to 10,000 zlotys for professional training of pupils. Career monitoring of graduates. It's a new thing that has just been implemented. The Educational Research Institute has presented the latest report, the first report on what happens with secondary school graduates, public and private. This is a tool for the minister when it comes to the educational policy shaping, both nationally and regionally and locally. And on top of that, this is a tip, a guiding post with regards professional education, a tip for counselors and school responsible bodies. What can I add when speaking about the debate, these stereotypes and reality? I want to highlight the fact that systemic changes and vocational training reform has introduced the changes in the vocabulary. We don't have zawodowe vocational schools, but we have technical schools, general education, secondary schools, and schools that are responsible for vocational training that are called branżowe. So these names should increase the perception. Statistics are good. More and more pupils are into vocational training. So vocational training rather than schools. This is broadly defined training rather than schools only. There has been an increase compared to the general training with 58% plus. And we hope to see the increase here because technical lines of education are very important also at the higher education level. And I'm very happy to see so many pupils choosing this line of study. This makes us happy. It's good that they choose this line of studies and they follow this education path. These mechanisms work. I cannot forget mentioning about a very important flagship project of the Ministry of Education, Science Education, the ones that bring together stakeholders, schools, responsible units, employers, higher education, research and development institutes, innovativeness institutes, in order to increase attractiveness, to align professional training to the dynamically changing labor market and preparing staff to enter the labor market.
Yes, Beata, we know that this is a big project when it comes to these vocational skills centers. It's over 30 billion zlotys that will go towards the infrastructure, which is quite an advantage. Are these changes implementable? You said they are, that they are going ahead, that KGHM is doing a great job. KGHM, though, is the cherry on the cake because you have the appropriate structures. I myself manage a smaller, much smaller company on a daily basis. So where should we look to for information aside from those legislative changes? Do you have any projects? I've heard that a platform has been created. I quite understand, as a former schoolmaster and today a head of a company, for a company manager to learn about all the legislation. Where should we get that information from? Just a very short question. We are nearing the end of the debate, and if there are any questions from the room, we will also take them. Yes, certainly there are information campaigns being run by the Center for Educational Development and other agencies. The center runs a whole series of trainings for school counselors, for school principals, and so all legislative changes as well as the systemic solutions being developed now are being disseminated via by the center, the FRSE, but also the ministry runs all sorts of projects. For instance, with the ZSK system, we are currently holding a whole range of industry meetings, which also allow us to meet with the heads of industry associations to learn about the need for what jobs are needed, what skills and qualifications are needed, see how we might introduce that into legislation. And also by working with employer organizations and associations, we are able to inform them about what is happening in the education system. So there is communication at various levels. And the platform, the online platform, Info Zawodowe, that's a new project which has started already. It's linked to the industry skills centers, schools and employer associations, professional associations. It has been proposed for that platform to be used to establish connections and cooperation. Some options still are not active, but we are at an advanced stage. Content is being added, and it's a website that is mostly of service to career counselors and those trying to learn about careers, because it describes various professions and pre-orientation in the labor market. There's also information about vocational training, a trade education compass, links to other websites, and two important options where employers and schools will be able to place their job offers and get in touch, run ads for certain jobs or say what sort of students they need, and schools will also be able to direct their graduates to employers. So as the automotive, Polish Automotive Industry Association, we are very happy that there will be one place where we will have all the knowledge on one site. So we're very happy that this is coming into being, and we are open to support it. Does anybody from the audience have a question to our panelists? We still have 5 minutes. Are there any questions? If not, I'll give you a minute or half a minute. I won't add any additional questions, but I'd like you to become the pharmacists of the Polish education system and the Polish economy, and tell us what sort of pill would be most helpful today so that we can solve our problems, if there's enough time, of course. So if you could be brief and tell us what the most important measures could be. We've identified lots of problems. Some model solutions have been implemented for better or worse. There is some knowledge about the system on the executive level. But do you have the recipe for a pill that would treat all ills? Well, if we had the recipe, that would be fantastic. But let me start by saying that the ministry is doing a lot of work. There's a lot of work to do. We, school principals, don't always know what the ministry is doing, and ORE is the place where we can find it. It would be great if we could also get that kind of information to our school email addresses, notifying us about changes and giving links. Sometimes we're not aware of changes. Sometimes we only learn about them after the fact. We are also short of theoretical and practical teaching staff. I think we all have that problem. There's a shortage of staff because of the earnings, and teachers could definitely earn more. This is possible under the current law, but if somebody approaches me, a construction specialist, and they want to teach, they see the salary, they say, well, sorry, but no, I've changed my mind. So finding somebody with passion who'd like to work in a school for that kind of money, that's a huge challenge. So here I have a request for the ministry to really look at this problem from a different side, especially as concerns vocational training. Am I going on too long? Setting up any major in a school is determined by the availability of teaching staff. As for the pill, BCU is supposed to be that pill. My only question is, will the deadline be moved? The deadline for applications, because it's December 15th, that's very little time. So we have two pills, one pill about teachers raising their salaries, and another pill, let's notify school principals via email about the changes. Well, I don't think I can say everything in a minute, but I was trying to come up with the most important factor that might be decisive, that might make vocational schools attractive, because KGHM is a big organization. We have a lot of leverage, and the fact that we are working, we have these projects, it's not just because we are a big player, but because we want to. We have the will. We see it as valuable. We want to build our business strategy via these projects, and we want to gain a competitive advantage by creating competent labor force to function in this increasingly VUCA world. And like the Americans say, it's all about mindset. It's our mindset. So looking at the map of Poland, we can find schools that are not doing so well, but we can find schools which are doing just great, and they are all part of the same system. What differentiates them is their mindset, their energy, their willingness to look for solutions. There are quite a lot of opportunities, the energy to look for partners, to lobby, to approach employers, to get in there. and show them it's worth working together, not just in terms of financing and money, although we do realize that technical education is much more costly than running a high school. But often we need to consciously build a map of allies, of friends, of organizations that are helpful, of people who can give money or time to do fun and good things together. And the starting point is to open young people's minds because they've come out damaged and hurt. So in our industry, we are thinking of this project as a project that delivers skills or things that support working on the mindset, working on the basics, working on perspective, working on open-mindedness. I don't know if I understood the PIL quite well. It's about company culture.
And also pertains to company management in the context of future development. If I were to speak about prescription, relations development, and the system that supports vocational training, it goes to Ministry of Development, not the Ministry of Education, to transfer it to business platform, because they take care of the development of Polish business. This is not the system making results. We can create great incentive systems and wonderful tools, but if people don't want to use it, there'll be no result. We want change the people who don't prepare them. You need to change their mindset. And speaking about prescriptions, after we run out of time, I look at your I'm looking at what you've said, and I'd say KGHM never be powiat. But on a serious note, we need to look at young people and their attitudes so that they are no longer indifferent. They create more rather than consume. Thank you very much, Professor, for this prescription. It is so efficient. I think it's good that much is happening at the systemic system for making this vocational system development. It's good that we've changed the vocabulary and there are new initiatives taken up by the ministry. Much can be done in a grassroots movement to make the school more attractive for pupils. And by the very fact that I speak in on behalf of VRSA, I encourage you for mobility and international projects. If not mobility, other collaboration, if international collaboration with employers, whatever we do to make school more attractive, to make it attractive to parents so that pupils are not the results of misinterpretation of parents. So whatever we do, it will be better than it used to be. Openness of your heads is the prescription that we'd like to have. Yes, I can subscribe to what you said. I'll take these suggestions into consideration. The suggestions that you said, collaboration of all environments, schools and employers and parents. This is the success of the ministries, and this is the success of the educational system and professional training. And I think this is the collaboration that I want to encourage you for. The time's up, so we'll have to postpone questions. There are questions from the auditorium. We'll have to switch to the break. Thank you very much, panelists. A round of applause for you. Ladies and gentlemen, we coped with pandemics. We created different vaccines. I don't want to go to the sphere of medicine, far from education. So the prescriptions are there. So we need to have motivation. We need to discuss implementation, and we'll have KGHM in every Polish powiat. Thank you very much.